if you haven't seen this, I'm so sorry. I cannot help you. Help yourself, right? Go and watch it and then come back. Hello, it's Layefa. How are you? Get yourself some snacks because we're going to talk. I've got Ferrero Rocher and Lindor. I don't know when you're watching this, but it's Christmas, New Year's season, so it's a lot of goodies going on. And I want to talk about Bridgerton today. I feel like I should face you well. I watched Bridgerton and I watched it literally in a night. I had no idea that was only 8 episodes. I literally banged through it. I think that says that I really enjoyed it. But also, I feel like the Netflix algorithm be doing us anyhow, like, because it kept popping up, and I thought, oh, black people, in a period drama, and they're not maids or slaves. And we are regal and we are in upper echelons of society. Yes, please. But what caught me by surprise was, I think, one of the intimate scenes, and I was like, oh, this is raunchy. And let's be real. Sex sells, isn't it? 8 hours of my life is gone. If I could get paid for watching television, this is the type of television that I want to watch. Disclaimer, I have not thoroughly researched the subject matter of this. I don't know the writers, director. I probably should. I probably will later on. But if any of you do, comment below, correct me in any places that you feel, or like add your 2 pence. So, seeing dark-skinned black people, seeing people that look like me, always talking about wanting representation, and you have representation, you then question it. The thing is, I'm questioning it, but it's the same thing that got me hooked on it in the first place. Because if you're getting a black audience, the innovators of popular culture, if you're catching us in, then you're onto a winner. I think because it seemed so fantasy-like and unrealistic, I enjoyed it because it was like, you know, it's not a Game of Thrones slaves or something like that. But what I found interesting was that in this period drama, which I suppose takes elements from reality, from history, is that they do put black people in these positions. They're going on this very typical British idea of being colorblind, because every white person in the UK thinks that they don't see color, which is a problem. But I thought, okay, if that's what we're doing, I'm going to do that. Like, maybe you're actually colorblind, maybe you have visual impairment, so we're going to pretend that we can't see that these people are black. We have to do that in order to enjoy the story, because you cannot have black characters. Like, it's great. Like, I'm not like, it's a double-edged sword, because I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it's like you cannot have black characters in a period drama or something of that context without having the nuances of the black experience, the black story. Like, racism didn't exist in that time. Like, slavery wasn't actually happening during that time, especially if it's a period drama. Like, it's wild to me. So that is the biggest, I suppose, downfall of it. The reason why I say that is at some point within the series, which we're going to touch on, is that they do bring in elements of, you know, King Edward III. Was it King Edward or Queen George? Which one are they talking about? The one who was mad. You know, there's that correlation with history there, and Queen Charlotte, like the Queen being a black woman, and Queen Charlotte, in actual fact, like the reality of Queen Charlotte is that she was a black woman. Like, everybody denied it, but you can clearly tell that in her ancestry, with her features, she was definitely the first black royal in society. You forget that, because even with the whole, I'm going to bring back Meghan Markle, because even when she was marrying Harry and all that madness, like, black historians were bringing up the fact that she is not the first black person to enter the royal family. Like, we have Queen Charlotte. You've got these parallels. So it's like, oh, actually, if we're doing that whole fantasy play, let the fantasy be complete. But then also talking about, well, it's Shondaland. It's part of the whole Shonda Rhimes production thing. So it's like, actually, Auntie Shonda can in terms of like quality, in terms of storytelling, in terms of just a really good story, Shonda has it in the bag all the time. She's always giving us solid content. I'm going to go back and forth. Let's touch on, so the fact that the Queen was black and her name was Queen Charlotte, and it's clearly a correlation to the actual Queen Charlotte, although during that time she was not considered a black woman, or at least they denied it. It was very obvious that she was a black woman, and even in that day, King had married her. During that period, it was very obvious that he was in love with her. This is the actual history, real life history that we're talking about. Now, the parallel in the drama is that, he married Queen Charlotte, and hence after he married her, that's what gave black people status in society. That's how there was an almost level playing field. That's how you got black dukes and duchesses and things like that. That's the correlation. But I feel like if they were going to do that, they could have delved deeper into the whole racism. And also, if there are black dukes, the slave trade is still happening during that time. Like, what's happening in Africa? What's happening in America? What's happening on the Jamaican plantations? Like, are we not going to talk about these things? Are we actually not going to talk about, because you cannot bring that up or have that correlation without all of these other nuances, all of these other stories attached to it. They touch on the fact that King Edward in Bridgerton was sick. He had some sort of mental illness, and in reality they believe that in history had some sort of bipolar disorder. So that those correlations there, it's like, okay, ski. How that story comes out is through the lovely Lady Danbury. I so much loved her. I think she was my favourite character. So Lady Danbury was the dark skin. If you haven't seen this, I'm so sorry. I cannot help you. Help yourself, right? Go and watch it and then come back and let's have this discussion, yeah? Because I'm going to be dibble and dabbling. I'm going to be throwing in all my things. This video is definitely a spoiler. But Lady Danbury was definitely my favourite character because she was just this. She just gave me so much poise, so much regalness. I just loved her character, and also she unravels to the Duke, the black man, Simon. And she unravels to Simon. Don't forget that how we even got to this level is because King Edward was so in love with Queen Charlotte. So they got married, and that's how we got the status that we have today. And so you touch on that and then you just leave it. That's not enough for me. See that there are black maids there, but there are also white maids there. So there's definitely, like, it's literally like we don't see color. So I just feel like if it's going to be a fantasy period drama, let it be a fantasy period drama, because the fact that these black people are in these positions, it is a fantasy. But then it's storytelling. You could tell the story however you like. I understand that, but I just would have liked that dug in deeper. Since we're talking about Lady Danbury, I want to touch on the hairstyles. If it is a period drama set in 17 something, and these are black people who are of the upper echelons, and they're regal, and they're duchesses and dukes and this and that, right? Did you see Lady Danbury's hair? What was that? I mean, obviously we know it was a weave. It was a not just a frontal. It was a whole thing, and her hair was beautiful. But what I'm addressing is the natural hair. Where is the natural hair in this? Because I think that needs to be tackled, because if you're talking about that period of time, should we Google here? When was relaxer invented? Clearly she's wearing a weave or a wig, whatever. But let's talk about this. Because imagine now they're trying to say that her hair is relaxed. When was relaxer invented? It wasn't like relaxer didn't come out during them times there, right? A black lady of that status, she would have definitely had her hair done very well, but it maybe would not have been a press and curl. It wouldn't have been a relaxer. It would have been some sort of neatly done Afro style, but to a European aesthetic. Why is her hair like that? Like with the Queen, you understand, like she's got all these different wigs. I was loving the wigs. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna jump again. I would have liked some, maybe because I like seeing natural hair. I like seeing natural hair styled. I like the natural hair aesthetic, especially the kinky coilia 4C. I like to see that representation. Some sort of something. Why did Lady Danbury have her hair like that? I was just like, really? The Queen's hair, on the other hand, made sense. It's very obvious that she's got loads of different wigs. And if that was the case, then Lady Danbury should have had loads of different wigs, because that is actually part of the black aesthetic. That's not a new thing. That's historical. That's what our ancestors do. Like on a maybe fortnightly basis, we're doing our hair again. So I would have liked to see Lady Danbury with loads of different hairstyles, because she's clearly a dark-skinned woman. I'm assuming that maybe under there, she's a 4C hair chick. I would have liked to see different, because that's what a black lady in that time would have done. If there were black ladies in that time of that status, she would have definitely had different hair looks, because we like to show off. Let's be real. The Queen did it well. Now, as we're talking about hair and hairstyles, can we talk about the costume? Can we just take a minute to discuss and address money was spent. Money was spent on this production, and you can see it was spent well. Come and see designs. Come and see lace. Come and see dresses. The wigs alone of the Queen, yes, I am here for it. Everybody, the Bridgertons, I love their costumes. They were just I feel like they were on a more bluey tone. The other family, which one is the other family? Which one is there? And this is clearly how I've not even done my research properly. Wait, it's coming. Feathers? Oh my God. Featheringtons. Wow, we got there in the end. So the costumes, the Featheringtons, I think that's what they're called. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, I've just Googled it. Their costumes were very yellowy. They had these greeny, they were just brash. The feathering style was very brash to go with their character, their personality. You could see that there were a lot of extras. You could see that there was a lot of cost. Money was spent on this. I really, really enjoyed that part of it. Can we talk about Marina Thompson, how she came in? It's funny because there was this whole big build up with her coming, and you're like, oh, okay, what is this? And she's this light-skinned, maybe in real life she's mixed race. Let's just say that she's light-skinned and she has a looser texture hair, and everyone's making a big deal about her, and they're very obviously excited, or maybe even some of the women jealous of her beauty. And you can see, the men are a little bit excited of her beauty. But then that completely dies down as her story develops. Like, they find out that, she's pregnant. So then she gets locked away in a room because of the period that we're in. It's a scandal for her to be pregnant and unmarried. So I felt like it was an anticlimax. The way they had brought her into the scene and everybody was like oogling at her, I felt like they would touch on fetishism of the black body, and of course, because she's of the lighter skin, colorism, because definitely we could talk about colorism there. All of the main characters in this, all of the main black characters in this are light skinned. So the Queen is light skinned, obviously copying. If it is a copy for copy of history, then copying the whole Queen Charlotte. But I'm assuming that Queen Charlotte could have been white passing. Lady Danbury is dark skin, and you do have a lot of dark skin extras. Like, you see a lot of dark skin extras. Even the boxer's wife, what is his name? I've forgotten his name. Is it Anthony? I don't know. Even his wife is fair skinned. So it's like, because they haven't touched on racism. There's clearly colorism there, but we haven't touched on that because we're too British, we don't see colour. Basically ignoring the elephant in the room. And that could be the most violent form of racism, because it's like, you don't see me. And then the whole idea of her now trying to swindle her way into a marriage, potentially pretend that her baby is the husband's baby when it isn't. And that made me, I tell you why it made me just a little bit uncomfortable, because at this point we're pretending that we don't see colour, right? If we do see colour, which we actually do, It's the fact that it's a black woman, whether she's light skin, dark skin, it's a black woman trying to swindle her way into a marriage. And it's like, I mean, that's damaging in itself. Something makes me maybe there's nothing to it, because at that point you're like, oh, this is all fantasy. We don't see colour. But if we do see colour, a black woman is trying to swindle her way into a marriage. Is that what we're really doing? Is that what we're really saying? Is that what black women are really like here? Is that what we're actually saying? What else do I want to say? Also, the language. Wow. The language is a real wow. There was a word that they used. It derives from the word epistle. Is it epistolary? They said a word. So we haven't actually addressed the elephant in the room. The main storyline, the main characters, the love story. Simon and Daphne. Whether he was black and she was what, I think that didn't matter. The story was really good. You got the fact that he's holding a grudge against his father because his father treated him poorly. Right? Didn't love him, and he had this really bad childhood. You know what I would have liked to see? Yeah, because he said to his father on his deathbed that you will not have a grandson. You will not get a child from me. So this lineage stops at me, right? He said that to his father. What I would have liked him to see, and I know this seems mad, right? I would have liked him to be a man of his word. Yeah, that would have added more sauce to it. Yeah. I would have really liked to see that. I would have liked him to be a man of his word and actually not give Daphne a child. I'm talking about a man's man, like a man being so begrudged like that. And he wants to say this lineage is going to stop here. I'm never getting married. And you're not going to get a child, daddy, because of how you treated me. Just for the sake of telling a story, I would have liked him to see that word through. I would have liked him to actually not have a child. Not because I think that it's good, but just because I would have liked to see how the relationship between Simon and Daphne would have played out. I would have liked to see how she would have really dealt with it year in, year out, yearning for a child and finding out. Oh my gosh, I haven't even touched on the fact. Let's rewind. So we're recapping here. Simon falls in love with Daphne through their own mad scandal. They both fall in love. Like, they're trying to fool everyone to pretend that they're in love so that she could find a good suitor. But they ended up falling in love. And okay. Wow. That's what we are doing. So if you can hear noise in the background, people are shooting fireworks because it's New Year's Eve currently. We're on lockdown, innit? Oh my God, and I am filming. Can you people really stop that? Let's carry on. So Simon and Daphne fall in love. His mum died giving birth to him, and the dad is really harsh on Simon because Simon grows up with a stammer. He has a stammer, and Lady Dunbury, who's the black dark-skinned lady who I spoke about previously and we were talking about her hairstyle. Yeah, she ends up raising him or helping to raise him and basically trains him out of his stammer. And so he ends up not having a stammer, and then he's writing letters to his dad saying this and that, and his dad never opens the letters because he's really disappointed. The dad always wanted a son. He's this perfectionist kind of guy, and then he feels that his son is an imbecile because his son has a stammer. Anyway, on the dad's deathbed, Simon comes in to see him and says, the daddy at this point is proud of him. Oh, my son, I'm so proud. Yes, the estate will be passed on to you. And he's like, you will never get a son from me. I'm never getting married. This lineage ends here. So he's a man of his word. So he becomes a little bit of a gigolo. Okay, he's not a gigolo per se, but he's a little bit of a sket. He's a little bit of a playboy. So he, sleeps around, but he never settles down until this Daphne situation. Now, here we are. So Daphne and Simon are caught kissing by Daphne's brother, which I haven't even got into because that story doesn't interest me so much. The brother kind of forces them to get married. Anyway, they end up getting married. He deceives her. He says, I cannot have a child. And she ends up marrying him anyway. But it's misleading because he says he cannot have a child, and she thinks that he has a medical issue. So she's like, I'm going to love you anyway. But it turns out that he just doesn't, like, she discovers that he just doesn't want to have a child. And being the day and age that they're in, she's not educated, she's not had sex education, she doesn't know what goes on in the bedroom. So there's this whole, it's quite a long period of time where they're buffing, they're walking outside the house, they're walking on the front door, they're buffing in the bedroom, they're buffing here, they're buffing everywhere, right? And every time he's always pouring out. Wow. He never, you know, puts his good healthy semen inside her, and she doesn't clock, she doesn't know any better that, oh, this isn't normal. They're just living their lives until somebody says something, because I said, this is going to happen. Somebody said something to her, something about having good seed, something about the Simon's mother having good seed, blah, blah, blah. She was like, what? So then she sits down with, is it one of her maids, Daphne? This is now Daphne and Simon are married. They've been buffing or whatever. I'm so sorry if this is not making sense, but please follow me. She sits down with one of her maids or whatever and says, tell me what happens in the bedroom. I need to know, right? So then she discovers that, oh, actually, he's lied to her. He's deceived her. So she thought like they're making love, and then she gets on top, and she, like, just as he's about to climax and he would usually pull out, she basically sits on him, and he's like, what have you done? And she's like, yeah, like, what? And she's like, yeah, you think I don't know? You think I wouldn't learn? You took me as a fool, you did this, you think I wouldn't know? Well, we will see. Okay, this is turning into a Nollywood movie the way I'm describing it. Let's bring it back in a British accent. So they have this big argument, and she said you cannot have children, and he's like, no, I can't. And he's like, no, that's deceptive. It's not that you can't have children, you don't want to. These are grounds for divorce. You told me that you cannot have children. You have deceived me. You know that's the one biggest thing that I want in the world. Obviously in that day and age, I don't know how divorce would work, but I mean in today's day and age, that is maybe also in that day and age too, I don't know. Those are grounds for divorce. You've told me that you can't have children, but you actually can. You just don't want to. So he's like, well, we'll see. Now, what I'm suggesting as a variation to the story is, if he had stuck to his word, if he loves Daphne, but if he had just, I would like to have seen, just for drama, just for sauce, if he had cut his nose to spite his face. He loves Daphne, but he wants that revenge so badly that he will not give her a child, because he's promised his father, his beloved father, his late dad, that the lineage ends there. Imagine if I was one of the writers. What I would have said is, they would have loved and loved. She would have tried to get pregnant. This couple that love each other, but now they hate each other because they can't trust one another. She wants a child, he's not giving her one. So she would then go outdoors. That's my storyline. She will step out of the relationship. She will step out. She will end up sleeping with somebody else. This is just for storytelling's sake. I'm saying she would sleep with somebody else and get pregnant from somebody else. And how would that play out? Would he disown her? Because he still loves her and he's done her wrong. But then would it be like an eye for an eye or tit for tat? Like, okay, you don't want to have this, but I don't. Like, what will actually happen? What would happen to the child that Daphne stepped out with? Just saying she stepped out because she wants a child so badly, and just saying that he's vexed, but he loves her so much. He takes her and pretends the child is his, but he didn't even want that in the first place. Would he pretend the child is his? Or would he throw her, like, what would he do? I feel like in those days, he would have, like, most men would pretend the child is theirs, but because he wants the lineage to end at him, what would he do? And then what would happen to that child's own story when he grows up to learn that his father is not his father? This is the child that has not happened, though. This is just in my own world. Jejely, I've made up a new story. If you need a writer, call me, innit? Call me. That didn't actually happen. He ends up, Lady Danbury speaks to him. I don't know. He gets softer and he ends up giving her a child? That sounds wrong, as if the child isn't his either. They end up having a child together. So that story, that would be the variation that I would have liked to see. Just for a bit of just for a bit more drama. Not like there's not enough drama in there already. Now, can we touch on Penelope real quick? Penelope and her crush with the guy. I don't know his name. I can't be bothered to read, but you know who I'm talking about. And he ends up deciding at the end of the series, he decides that he's going on tour and he sees her as a sister. That upset me. I felt like that was uncalled for. I felt like there was a bit of fat phobia there, because if she was a slim ting, if Penelope was a slim ting, he would not have seen her as a sister. I would have liked the big girl to get some love. Big girls get love too. Him fall in love with her, but maybe that can happen later on. I like how the story also, not that particular story, but in general, the period drama, you know, there's touches of feminism. Daphne's younger sister, I forget her name, trying to find out who the writer of the news article was, the name of the thing, the narrator, and I should have clocked, is Julie Andrews. Dame Julie Andrews. I was like, of course it is. Amazing. And also Madame Bridgerton, the main Bridgerton, you know how I'm talking about, Daphne's mother, Mama Daphne, Abby. Her, that's Tracy Beaker's mum. Now, is that Tracy Beaker's real mum or the mum in Tracy Beaker? If anybody watched Tracy Beaker growing up, just say I kept looking, I was thinking, how do I recognize this woman? I didn't really watch Tracy Beaker that deep. Oh my goodness, I love how they touch on you know, sexuality a little bit. Who was it? Which of the brothers was experimenting? I was like, ooh, what a scandal. The man walked in and saw him with another man and justified his wow, is he wow. I loved how they talked on, especially during that time, that there was so much drama. You know what makes that show, actually, thinking about it, is all the drama. Everybody's life had wahala. Everybody had something going on. There was adigelele everywhere, and I love that's what makes the show. You know what is funny, as I was watching this thing, and you know Daphne's younger sister who's trying to find out who the writer, and she's suspecting this person and suspected that person, and she's always going to her best friend Penelope, the one who is in love with her brother, not her own brother, I mean Daphne's brother. You know what? Follow me. You know what I'm saying? Her, right? I knew that she was the writer, because at the end, the big reveal, because she kept going to her, and you know, Penelope just sitting there like, yeah, okay, all right, and she was like, oh, let's do this. She's like, you know, I got bigger problems, and she's suspecting this. I knew it wasn't the black lady I was like, you've got it wrong. You see the carriage and she takes off her thing. That really satisfied me. Did any of you comment below? Did you guess that? Are you just as good as me? Did you guess that Penelope was the writer? Like, if we're doing a 5-star thing, how many stars would I give it? You know, I want to give it 4 because there's so much drama there, but it lost some points just because it left out the nuances. Like, when you bring black people into these stories, the nuance has to, like, this whole I don't see color thing doesn't wash with me. So for that reason, unfortunately, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5. Yeah, it would have got the 4 stars because it's that, like, I watched it, I banged it out in one night, but just because I would have liked to see more of that, the black, like, you can't tell these stories and have black faces in it and not have the black stories attached. But I don't know, maybe season 2 might do better. But it's still, does it matter if it's not believable? I don't know. Comment below. Does it matter that it's not believable? I think it doesn't matter, but that's just something that I would have liked to see. But then also, like, it's not every day see black struggle. Yeah, no, I take that back. 4 stars out of 5. Yeah, I mean it, and I meant it for real. But I don't know. But then, okay, this is just me arguing in my head. But then you can still see black joy with the experience, because the thing is, the reality of black joy and why we are so magical is because of the trauma that we have experienced as a people, and we still have black joy. Yeah, let's keep it at 4 stars. let's keep it a full stop. Anyway, comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, opinions, views. Have you watched it? Have you not watched it? Do you like my twist? Let them know that I am another writer, that they can... Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Anyway, until my next video, respect your edges. Bye.